I'm sure you're asked this in every interview, but how did you come across this particular piece of momentary time capsule and the idea to create the film? And what percentage of the talk did you use?
I read the book in 2021 when I was working in Paris on Passages with Ben Wishaw,
Mhm.
and I really wanted to continue that collaboration, and I thought this would be an art project we could embark upon together. We both share an interest in Peter's work specifically, but also queer history and culture and risk taking. And this felt like a really risky film. It felt like there was no certainty of what we would make, and
Right.
that also felt like a very free endeavor. And in a way, that's what I really get from this period of New York creativity in the late 70s and the early 80s.
Yeah.
Is there was a lot of risk and there was a lot of freedom and there was no sense that you were going to make any money with any of it.
Awesome. So there were some fun elements of the bad old days of 70s New York City when, despite the crumbling nature of it, everything seemed possible for artists. What connected you to those times in the context of your filmmaking, and what amused you most about the references in the actual transcript?
Hmm. Um, I think when I first discovered Peter's work in the beginning of the 1990s, I felt like it was like a window into a world that I wasn't seeing depicted outside of his photographs that I wanted to be a part of.
Hmm.
And and I still do. You know, I'm still trying to find a kind of community within the world that he existed in, including those elements that are gone, because
Yeah,
they're still a part of me, even though they're not present in a physical way. The work is present.
right.
And I find that radical work can be really grounding in a period of time now where there's such conservatism.
How did you and Alan Ash collaborate on the look of the film? There were very effective silhouettes, use of natural lighting, of
Yeah,
course, the amazing faces of Ben and Rebecca. So,
yeah.
how were you able to coordinate and capture this magic?
Well, we spent a lot of time in the space taking photographs of actually two stand-ins in different times of the day and in different corners of the room.
Nice.
So, and we had a series of photographs that I realized as I began to look at them that they told a story of time and also a story of portraiture.
Mhm.
And so we then went back with those photographs and said, okay, it's 12 noon by the window. Let's shoot then. It's 6 in the evening as the sun's going down at the dining room table. Let's make that happen. And so it
Beautiful.
became a process of kind of scheduling the production around the change of time and light.
Yeah, and did you same time in December because it's set in December?
No, I wasn't.
Oh.
I wasn't. I don't care about that. Nothing is
uh,
real.
nothing is real in cinema.
Someone told
Thank
me I was in a very New York theater and a woman raised her hand and said, "That's not Yorkville." And I said, "I love New York."
Ben and Rebecca are two once in their lifetime performers. Since they were working with actual words that I assume you didn't deviate from, how in their body and performance work did they improv the characters and create more magic from a two-person in an apartment story?
I think I often work without rehearsing. That's generally my strategy.
Oh,
And
interesting.
in this case, there was that's what I did. So in a way, what I asked the actors to do is to follow the dialogue and emotionally improvise everything.
Hmm.
Everything is a discovery. What was interesting is that there was a random quality to what they were saying where. I was not in general saying, oh, they're talking about Betty Davis. Let's put them on the bed because they're talking about Betty Davis. It would just be at that moment in the script, I needed them to be in the next spot. So they were on the bed. So the physical locations that I kind of put them into really changed the emotional dynamic of every scene.
How about your improvisation? How did you do setups to keep a visual acuity uh, imagination within a two-person exchange. And what idea came on set that proved to be effective for the film overall? And I know you just said you went over everything, but was there something on set that?
Well, I would say offset, I watched a bunch of movies that were kind of handmade portrait films, like Portrait of Jason, Jim McBride's film, My Girlfriend's Wedding,
Ah,
a film called Poor Little Rich Girl by Andy Warhol, which is Warhol photographing Edie Sedgwick one night at the Chelsea Hotel. And these films gave me a lot of direction because I understood the place of the cut in creating what is actually like one long conversation, but the cut can transform movement and space in a way that I felt really liberated by. It wasn't obvious to me because in fact they probably never moved.
right, right.
So I needed to be made set free, and somehow those films did a good job of that, you know.
Well, yeah, and also it's cinema, so it creates the visual complexity that was
Well, I needed
necessary.
to create the cinema. It
I
doesn't
know,
do it
that's
on
what I'm
its own.
saying. That's what your job is,
That's
sir.
what I got to do.
You've explored male cisgender gay coupling in two films, Love is Strange, pre-gay marriage, and Passages, post-gay marriage. In attitude, what felt different besides the age differences between the two couples and the two eras, even though the films are only 5 years apart? And what do we as a society need to watch out for in our current era?
I guess, I don't, I kind of don't, that's an exterior view of something that for me, what I'm drawn to is trying to figure out opportunities to record intimate moments between people, whether it be friends,
Right.
in this case. There's something about the friendship between a gay male artist and his female best friend, which is really familiar to me. And I'm intimate with that kind of long relationship, and I have that relationship now with Linda in a certain way. We're emailing all day and texting, and
Nice.
she's 92 and I'm
Wow.
60, but there's somehow we cross our generational differences through our curiosity and in her case, her kindness. And I think that kindness is something that I wanted to record.
Nice. And wow, I thought I would only have time to get through these, but I'm glad. I've come to the final question. We first met in 2007, and now 18 years later, we talk again. What has been your most profound change in evolution, both as a participant in the life cycle and the artist filmmaker?
I mean, I would say I learned that I could have relationships and intimate love relationships that are based on sweetness instead of pain. And I think as a gay man of my generation, pain was essential to my education. And it took me a while to realize there were other ways of living that didn't have to be so tortured.
That's
And I
beautiful.
believe that my generation had to be tortured. We didn't have choices, but I found other ways of being intimate with people which are based on trust and kindness. I've also become a parent in the last 13 years, and I think that experience has really, I guess in some ways it gives me a recognition of the temporality of my own existence. You know,
Speaking of temporalities.
exactly.
And how about as a filmmaker? How have you evolved?
As a filmmaker, I mean, what comes to mind is I'm still here, and
Ah, beautiful.
I've sustained a kind of local personal filmmaking that I wasn't sure was possible, certainly in 2007. The recession in 2008 had big impact on all of my community of filmmakers.
Yeah.
And so I guess by being dogged and persuasive and committed, I've been able to still continue to make the kinds of films that mean the most to me.
This is Patrick McDonald for HollywoodChicago.com. Copyright 2025.